Women were stripped naked and pushed into freezing water at -20 degrees Celsius. In the freezing water, the woman shivered. It's difficult to think that this is how mental patients were treated 200 years ago. This is known as hydrotherapy. There are many more such controls in this all-female mental facility. They were regarded like a disease and exposed to all kinds of brutal treatments as long as they did not listen to the doctors. The patients had to endure Eugenie. A new patient at the mental hospital has been admitted till that day. Eugenie was born into aristocracy, but she was put to the asylum because she could hear and see the dead. So her regular parents committed her to a psychiatric facility. Eugenie was stripped naked and had to undergo a full physical examination after being admitted to the hospital. Eugenie was taken into the dormitory after being cleared of any disease by 3 caregivers. Eugenie, fortunately, is extremely versatile. She quickly adjusted to life here. After careful investigation, she discovered that the majority of the patients incarcerated here were healthy people. The majority of them had been committed to the asylum by their spouses or other family members for various reasons. Others were discovered on their way out and were forced to be taken away and treated. They gradually turn insane in the asylum of the never-ending torture procedures. And the goal of this mental institution is to treat patients as sick. Eugenie was determined to flee when they arrived. She might go nuts if she doesn't leave. The only way for her to escape was to demonstrate that she could hear and see the dead and was not mentally sick. Eugenie went to see Genevieve, the head nurse. She began by describing Genevieve's deceased sister. Eugenie precisely portrayed her sister's physical characteristics in order to persuade Genevieve. Even her birthmark is correct, but Genevieve believes Eugenie just got to know her sister in order to flee. She didn't give a damn. Eugenie's statements, on the other hand, convinced her that Eugenie was not a psychopath. She went to the attending doctor and requested him to send Eugenie out. But the doctor in charge wanted to keep Eugenie because she was gorgeous. He persisted in brainwashing Eugenie. Anyone who can see ghosts is not mad. Eugenie quickly retorted, "A girl claimed to have seen God the other day. You don't question her? Why am I insane because I see ghosts?" The attending physician was enraged. He quickly directed Genevieve to schedule Eugenie's spa appointments every 2 weeks. Eugenie, on the other hand, is a fighter. She recovered fast. Back in the hostel, Louise, who was sleeping next to Eugenie, warmed her with her body. But the next day, she was forced to perform for the wealthy. Louise was hypnotized. She slowly raised her hands in response to the hypnotist's command. From her tummy to her lips, the nobility there were transfixed by her expression. But, as if stimulated, Louise collapsed to the ground. Her body was swaying violently from side to side. Her limbs began to convulse. The nobility were immediately piqued by this scene. They all stood up to look. Louise was only a clown for their amusement, in their eyes. They had no idea Louise was having a seizure as a result of the hypnosis. Meanwhile, Eugenie locates Genevieve once more in order to flee the facility. Eugenie lets Genevieve talk to her sister. Eugenie, on the other hand, agreed to assist her in leaving. Genevieve, who was missing her sister, consented without hesitation. They arrived in an empty room. Eugenie was quickly channeling. She buried her face in her hands and sensed the ghost in the room. Time is ticking away. I'm not sure how long it took the Eugenie to make a noise. Eugenie's body began to struggle just as Genevieve's patience was wearing thin. Her respiration grew more fast. Genevieve approached Eugenie swiftly and inquired about the psychic's accomplishment. "Your father is in trouble. He's in the kitchen." Genevieve didn't have time to contemplate and rushed home. When she opened the door, her father was not in the kitchen. She was irritated that she had been so rash as to believe Eugenie. But then she noticed the bloodied rag on the table. So Genevieve dashed to the second story. Sure enough, she noticed her father with a nosebleed. Fortunately, she arrived home in time. A tragedy was averted. That is why Genevieve is now convinced of Eugenie's strength. She also sincerely wants to assist Eugenie in escaping the asylum. But Genevieve isn't powerful enough. She couldn't simply let Eugenie go. So she went to the dean and pleaded for assistance. But before she could say anything, she was informed that Eugenie had been ordered to undergo treatment for disagreeing with doctors. Eugenie was only scheduled for a medical exam after Genevieve left, but she discovered that Louise was paralyzed from the waist down due to hypnosis. She did not hold back from confronting the doctor. She irritated the doctor to the bone with her small gesture. Eugenie was subjected to a more grueling treatment after being drugged with ether. It's referred to as eclipse therapy. Solar eclipse therapy entails keeping patients in a secret room with a small skylight. The skylight is only open for a few minutes each day. This is especially traumatic for Eugenie, who can see ghosts. Eugenie was tortured to the brink of collapse in the cramped chamber. When she couldn't hold on any longer, Genevieve spotted an opening to sneak up on her. Genevieve says she will absolutely take Eugenie out. Genevieve approached the dean, who requested that Eugenie be sent back to a regular ward. She also received some unexpected news. A grand ball will be held at the asylum in a few days. Many nobles will decide to attend at that moment. To assist Eugenie in escaping, a scheme was planned. The Looney Bin's yearly celebration ball. The so-called insane women were brought to the nobility, completely dressed to the nobility's taste. The women drank a lot of wine and became inebriated over time. The nobles started to bother them. Even Louise, a hemiplegic woman, was held by some males. Because they prefer women who follow instructions. Thankfully, a female patient exercised caution. When she saw Louise had vanished, she hurriedly barged into the room with her speaking patients and saved Louise. They also assaulted the nobility. For her part, Eugenie is exploiting the dance to get away from the insane asylum. Eugenie meets her brother with Genevieve's assistance. She was eager, but from the outside she seemed cool. A caregiver was gazing at her from a nearby location. Eugenie fortunately came across a chance. While the nurse was talking, she ducked into the crowd. She moved toward a vacant space while hiding behind Genevieve. Eugenie follows after changing into more laid-back attire, followed by her brother, Genevieve, to use the rear door to flee. They had prearranged a car, and it was waiting outside. Eugenie is reluctant to get in the carriage, but Genevieve persuades her to do so. Genevieve was ultimately admitted to the asylum as a mental patient for allowing Eugenie to get away. Eugenie did not see her family again. She moved to a solitary seaside residence. She continued to write to Genevieve in the years that followed, sharing details of her life with him. Genevieve, who got the letter, appears to go to the beach with Eugenie. She was liberated spiritually.